Greetings from the allotment and welcome to a very special blog. This is an ultra blog. Let me explain. So, since March 2008 I have been doing a weekly video blog. Occasionally a file will get corrupted and I will sort of leave it for a week and then you'll get a bumper weekly video blog. Occasionally also an emergency will happen where I need to talk to you within a week, you know, right away. And you have the emergency blog. For the first time, you've now got an ultra blog. An ultra blog I hope will never happen again. It happened this time because I said that I needed to take some time out to think about things for myself. Crows are thinking, to think of things for myself without having to broadcast every step of the way as to what was happening. And I don't know, it's been maybe 4 or 5 weeks since I last spoke to you. So an ultra blog will be a blog where I haven't blogged in about a month and then I blog. You'll be glad to know that I'm going back to doing the normal weekly video blogs. You'll also be glad to know that the birthdays are going to be back included, but probably back in the credits. There's a couple of other things to say, a couple of other changes. The first one is that you may or may not know that the Pulver House of Birds is due to shut down within this next month. So that will be happening. The other thing, of course, is that at the allotment we're about to move into the growing season. What else? Oh yes, I am not doing my MMA predictions anymore. I am going to do a blog for MMA perhaps once a month with my fighters of the cards just until the end of the year, and then this will be the last year that I do the Fighter of the Year contest, as it's been done over, well, since I started, and then I'll just go back to sort of selecting probably the popularist choice or whatever. I may mention or do the odd blog in support of somebody who I like, who is on the card instead. But in terms of recap videos and prediction videos, I'm afraid those days are past, and there's several reasons for it. First of all, never got a good response to it anyway. Secondly, I am not, it's sort of something that I wouldn't say I've grown out of, but the novelty of it has worn off, and nothing came of all the stuff that I sort of endeavoured to do in that sort of field, you know, with journalism and stuff like that. So that's pretty much gone. The final thing is that I neither like the way the institution is going, nor am I now up to date really with what's going on. A lot of the fighters that I supported and that I started off talking about are now retiring, and unless you know the generation after, it seems to me that there's not much point, because you only know 2 people on a card, so for the rest of it you're just guessing. It's the sort of thing where you have to invest a lot of time and you have to be you know, online in that media all the time. And I'm not anymore. And you know, I am not ashamed of stopping it either, because I have one of the best runs of people online. Oh yes, I've looked. And even those that used to get, you know, hundreds of views, you know, they would be able to do it for maybe a year and then they'd stop. I've done mine ever since WEC 33 was the first event I covered, and I have a nearly unbroken record for at least, I don't know, 7 out of the 9 years that I've done it, more or less. So I'm not, you know, ashamed of it at all. I am just not investing the time in that anymore. There's several other things that have happened, major things that have happened, I suppose. There's the changes to all the currency. Yes, our £5 notes have gone from sort of paper to part plastic. How strange is that? and our £1 coins have changed shape and constitution. Instead of being circular and golden, they are now sort of hexagonal almost, with a circular inlay of silver and a rim of gold. Very weird. And we're still at the stage where they're phasing in and phasing out, so at the moment we're using all four types, both paper and plastic £5 notes, and both circular and hexagonal £1 coins. Very strange. I hear they are also going to change the £10 note and the £20 note at some point. I haven't heard that they're changing any more of the hard currency. I think the reason for changing the £1 coin was apparently it was becoming too easy to forge. But the reasoning for changing the notes, I don't know. I don't know at all. So there we are. The other thing, of course, is that Article 50 was triggered by our Prime Minister, and that that was received in Brussels, and that they have spent the last month as a European Union, without us presumably, looking over the protocol that they are going to invoke for the actual negotiations. And the summit for that is either today or yesterday. I can't remember which one. We don't know much about that. We do know that there have been issues about the sovereignty of Gibraltar versus Spain. There has also been issues over what would happen if, if Northern Ireland, Ulster, decided to unite with the Republic of Ayr, and there has been a green light for them to just automatically be accepted into the Union because they would be recognised as part of Ayr. The same thing has not been given to Scotland. So there we are. The other big thing, of course, is that because now this is a matter of this is a bone with me, because I would not have done this. I would have begun the negotiations this month, but Theresa May is not going to begin the negotiations for a month and a half because she triggered a snap election. Now the polls say that she'll win very, very easily, and she probably will, but because she's going against Corbyn, of course. But because they've said that, I'm a bit worried about the turnout of the election. I also just don't think there was any need for it. She's doing it so that she gets a bigger majority remaining in power, so that when she's actually finished the negotiations, she can be certain that it will pass through the Commons vote. The problem is, she's just called an election where she may not. There are at least 4 outcomes, and, there's only one that she wants. The first outcome is that she could lose altogether, and that would be dire. The second is that she could win, but with a lesser majority, which would be worse than it is now. The third option is that she could win with exactly the same majority, which would mean that that was all a waste of time. And the fourth, which is what she's hoping for, is that she would win with an even bigger majority. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to happen, and if I was her, I wouldn't have done it. And then you have the usual problems with North Korea and President Trump and all that sort of rubbish. But I've not been concentrating on that because obviously I wouldn't say an invested interest, but I'm irritated by the Europe thing at the moment. So that's what I've been focusing on. Do you know? I think a bird has just landed on the roof. Anyway. It has, and it's bouncing across the roof now. I don't know if you can hear that, but there we are. There isn't much else to say. Things will be going back to usual. I am going to launch a few more projects and return a few projects. So we'll have a weekly quiche thing is coming back. There will be a weekly ranking of local coffee houses. I'm thinking of doing a monthly visit to an eating establishment. That's all going to be brought up. You won't notice any difference. but you might notice a difference, because one of the main things that I'm going to try and do is sort my health and my lifestyle out, because it seriously needs to be done now. I've spoken about this and played around with it a couple of times in the past, but now I need to do things seriously, because I am the heaviest that I've ever been. It's not healthy, and I need to actually get that sorted out before, I have eat myself to death or whatever. So I know that I have all the tools that I need. I just don't use them. And so I'm going to be a lot more proactive. You will see things actually happen now, rather than endless chit-chat about it. The thinking and the planning and all the emotional turmoil has been what has stopped me almost from videoing at all over the last month and a half. That's not like me, so you know that I'm being absolutely serious here. So big things to come, I hope. And there we are. That's it.